Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head over to Latvia once again for the first time in what feels like a good long while. We're going to have a look at a beer from a brewery that I've never tried anything from before, and I'm very curious to see how they turn out because this brewery were very kind and sent me a big box of different things. So we've got about 14 or so beers to review from these guys over the coming weeks, so I hope you enjoy those. But it seems that these guys really want to drive their exports a little bit, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this brewery progress over the next little while. And generally speaking, it is nice to have some more Latvian beers on the channel. It's only really Arpus that we get here in Scandinavia regularly, and I have seen a couple of things from Odu Brewery over in Copenhagen as well. So hopefully this is the start of a kind of bigger drive for Latvian breweries to export their beers, because a lot of the Baltic countries, because of their small populations, they do have the potential to export quite a lot of stuff. That's something that we've seen from Estonia quite a lot in recent times. So hopefully Latvia joins in with that as well. And it's always cool to see more European countries getting on the craft beer bandwagon, of course. But anyway, for this review, we are going to go to a little place called Jelgava, which is to the southwest of Riga, the capital city. And we're having a look at my first beer from Hopalaa. So this particular beer is called Abstract. It comes in at 6.5% ABV, and this one is a New England hazy, whatever you want to call it, IPA. So yeah, this one should be really interesting. A lot of these Hopalaa beers are very highly rated on Untappd. As I always say though, Untappd is a good barometer. Don't take it as the be all and end all, take it with a bit of a pinch of salt. But there are quite a few of these Hopalaa beers that are very highly rated, so I think we could be in for a treat with some of these. Big thank you to Remants from the brewery who sent me the big box of beer. He sent me a box of about 30 beers or something like that, and I gave some of the doubles to my friends to enjoy, but I kept all the ones, I kept one of each basically to review for you on the channel over the next little while. So hopefully these beers are nice. As I say, big thank you to Romance for making these reviews possible. What we'll do is we'll do the IPAs first, because obviously these are the most kind of time bomby beers, if you like. We'll do the sours after that, and then we'll do the darker beers as well. But certainly looking forward to trying these ones. Hopefully you guys enjoy my take on them as well, and hopefully they're good beers. So yeah, let's get cracking with this review then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I'll do in the future from Hopalaa Brewery. This is the very first time I'm trying one of their beers, of course, but there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there that I'll make for the Latvian beers, and hopefully we can add some more other breweries to that over the course of the next few months and years or whatever as well. And yeah, if you do have any other brewery and beer suggestions, don't hesitate to get in touch. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then, to tell you a little bit about Hopalaa then. And I will apologise in advance for any bad Latvian pronunciations, because that language is completely different from anything else in Europe apart from Lithuanian. There is some familiarity between those two, but I have very little experience of anything Latvian, of course. But anyway, let's do our best. So, Hopalaa Brewery, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in a little place called Jelgava, which is in the Zemgale region to the southwest of Riga, down in Latvia, over in Latvia, I should say. But the brewery is owned by three friends. This is Rimants Pavziniuks, who kindly sent me these beers, Kristaps Stankus, and Ainars Rumjansevs. So Ainars is a teacher by trade, Kristaps has a background in finance, and Rimants owns his own marketing firm. So quite a diverse background amongst these guys, and this is quite a common thing actually when you get startups with breweries. But they apparently discovered craft beer after hearing that a neighbour was brewing something called an IPA, which they had never heard of. They went and tried this and they were just kind of blown away by it, from what I understand. But they then started home brewing together in about 2013 under the name Kaliu Alus, which translates as blacksmith brewery into English. But they gradually scaled up their home brewing over time. They were brewing in the countryside for a little bit, then in a kitchen, and then in a garage, from what I understand, and they got a lot of positive feedback on their beers, and they were encouraged by many to turn their home brewing hobby into a full-blown professional brewery and start their own company, and that's what they did. So in 2019 they officially registered the name Fermentum, which is essentially the parent company of the Hopalaa brand, but the beer is released under this name. And the idea behind using Hopalaa as the name of the brewery was that it's easier for people from other countries to remember, of course, because like I said, Latvian is a crazily complicated language. If you don't grow up with that language, I think there's very little chance that you're going to learn it, to be honest. But yeah, so Einars is the head brewer, while Kristaps takes care of the finance side of things, and he looks after the yeast and fixes various technical problems around the brewery, so maybe he's like the brew engineer to an extent. But Remants is the marketing and sales person for the brewery, and he's the one that seems to be driving the exports and stuff for this brewery as well. But the brewery itself is equipped with a 1,000 litre brew kit, and they've been progressively expanding the fermentation capacity over the last little while. They want to experiment with many different styles, and they collaborate with quite a few other small businesses as well to get different adjuncts for their stouts and sours, and you will see that in a few of the later reviews that we do when we move on to the darker beers and the sours as well. But a number of gypsy breweries also brew their beers at the Hopalaa brewery, and you know, these guys have a fairly impressive array of different beers that they do as well. But as of April 2021, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 60 different kinds of beer, and that number is no doubt going to increase over the next little while. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Hopalaa for the moment. Big thank you to Remants for giving me that information to share on the video with you. And yeah, if you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. You can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages as well if you want to learn any more about all those different beers that they've done. But yeah, that is it for the history section. Let's get on and have a look at the beer itself then. So as you can see, I had to like balance this one on a little bottle cap, because you know, if you sit it like this, you can see the camera just hates shiny cans. That's one of the annoying things about doing beer reviews. But yeah, we had to sit it thing there. But there, you can see the Hopalaa brewery symbol. You can see the little viewfinder screen just reflecting off this as well. So yeah, shiny cans are a little bit annoying. They are, not all of the cans that they do incidentally are shiny. I think it's just the IPAs that tend to be shiny. But there you can see Abstract IPA, double dry hopped IPA it says. And the thing that I like about these is that they tell you the ingredients list on the side here. So the malts in this one are Golden Promise, wheat malt, flaked oats and caramel. So this one looks as if, or sounds as if it might well be quite a sweet leaning New England IPA. The hops in this are Eldorado, Nelson Sauvin and Galaxy, so we've got a bit of American, New Zealand and Australian things in there as well. Eldorado roughly about 12-13% if I remember rightly, lovely tropical fruity notes. Nelson Sauvin 16% alpha acid, you know, that big kind of gooseberry white grapey sort of thing, and then Galaxy's got that big passion fruity and kind of pineapple-y note to it, as well as some mango as well. And the yeast in this one is imperial juice, so yeah, that should be quite interesting to try. But yeah, as you can see, 440 milliliter can. I'm not sure exactly what this one would cost. I'm not actually sure what it will cost when it comes through Systembolaget and things like that. I'm guessing it will probably cost somewhere in the region of like 40 kroners or something like that, which is roughly about €4. So yeah, I have no idea what it would cost you in Latvia. Obviously a little bit less, because the import companies, when they bring them into Sweden, they usually add on, usually Systembolaget sell it for an extra 10 kroners or something to give the import companies a bit of a cut. But yeah, nicely presented can. This one, as I say, a satin finish would maybe be preferable for bloggers like me for these beers, but overall it looks pretty nice. So yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. A 6.5% New England Hazy, oh, whatever you want to call it, IPA. I'm struggling to get my finger under this one actually. There we go. Yep. But yeah, let's get it out into the glass and see how we get on. And I will say, as soon as you open this up, the aroma smells absolutely lovely. But from what Remants told me, these beers are pretty damn fresh actually. So yeah, he sent them last Friday, and then I'm drinking them for you maybe. I got them on the Monday when I did the live stream, and I'm filming this one for you on the Thursday. So yeah, don't really get them much fresher than this. That's one of the downsides about the Systembolaget system here in Sweden. The Finns, they can buy beers direct from the brewery, which is great, but in Sweden we are not allowed to do that yet. I don't know whether yet is actually the right thing to say, because maybe it'll never happen, but who knows. But yeah, in terms of a New England IPA, this beer looks pretty much as you would expect. You can see that the head on this one poured to be about a 1/3 finger of a frothy, I would say cream coloured head there. Nice big foamy ring around the edge of the glass, but in the centre that's going to fade away to be a very thin foamy layer. But in terms of colour, this one actually leans a little bit towards the kind of deep, rich ambery yellow, in fact. So yeah, 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there. But I mean, overall, it looks pretty nice, and a kind of richer, yellowy, slightly ambery leaning colour. You can see the level of haze on this one is kind of in the middle, to be honest with you. It's not the soupiest and gloopiest of New England IPAs that I've come across at the 6.5% mark, but remember, this kind of varies from brewery to brewery. So remember, when it comes to the colour of your beer, it depends on 1, the type of malts that you use, 2, the length of your wort boil. The longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, thus you get a darker colour of beer. Adjuncts and barrel aging also play a role in determining the colour, but those variables are not at play here. But you know, when this one has a bit of caramel in it, it's not surprising that this one has a little bit more of a kind of rich yellow colour to it rather than being a little bit paler. But a New England IPA like this is probably going to undergo a boil of like 70 to 90 minutes. Something like that. And the level of haze in these beers depends on the oat and the wheat content, and that varies from brewery to brewery, of course, and the yeast can play a little bit of a role in there too. But yeah, nothing particularly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance when you consider what style it is, but I think it looks pretty nice, I have to say. I like how it looks, and it certainly smelled very nice when we opened up the can, so I think it's about time to have a closer look at that aroma. So let's go for it then and see how we get on. So aroma time then, let's see. Oh yeah, that's a very nice smelling IPA. I'm trying to remember what brewery this reminds me of actually, but as I've told you in previous reviews, I think there's 6 different directions you can take a New England IPA. They can be sort of farmhousey and yeasty, they can be sort of more grainy and rye leaning, they can be wheaty and bitey, they can be sort of oaty and creamy, they can be more kind of you know, they can be a little bit more kind of bready and barley malt, and they can also have a bit of sweetness to them, but quite often they'll display multiple characteristics, and this one comes across as being a very smooth, oaty and creamy, but still quite sweet IPA in a sense. So yeah, this one comes across very interestingly. In a way, I'm really trying. There's one of the breweries that I've had quite a few beers from that this one really reminds me of, and I just can't quite put my finger on it. Yeah, but I'll tell you something, the aroma of this one is very, very nice. We'll start off with the malty side of things and kind of go from there. But yeah, with this beer then you can smell that nice white bready base to the beer, but it sort of thickens up and you get a good bit of a oatiness out of it. At the back of the nose you get a lovely sort of wheaty bitiness in there, and yeah, that really works with this beer. It really, really goes together very, very well. So yeah, the aroma that comes out of this beer is lovely on the malty side of things. So yeah, white bready base to it. You get a little bit of a bread crusty note the more that you smell of it. You can smell a really nice thick oaty element to it. Then there's a bit of wheaty bitiness at the back of the nose too, but then there is a little touch of a kind of sweeter caramelly element coming out of this one. You get a little bit of that sort of Werther's Original butter candy thing out of this beer too, and that sits kind of underneath the sort of caramel. The caramel is almost like the top layer in this beer, we should say, but then you get a few sort of McVitie's digestive biscuity elements coming out of this too, the further that you examine the nose. But it's certainly a very, very interesting beer, regardless of how you prefer the malty side of your New England IPAs to lean. I do feel that the malty side of these beers is often pushed aside in favour of the hops, which is in some ways understandable, but I think people often neglect how important having a good malt base in a New England IPA is. But this one comes across very, very nicely, I have to say. So yeah, I think it goes together very, very well actually. So yeah, thumbs up from me on the malty side of things. The hoppy side of things though, you do get a little touch of earthiness out of this one, but there's a nice big green floral aromatic component coming out of this beer. It's got quite a big floral aromatic spice to this one, and I mean, when you've got the 3 hops in this one that you have, they've all got a fairly kind of substantial spicy floral aromatic kind of thing going on. And remember, it depends when in the boil that you add your hops as well. This one, it tells you on the can that this is a 20 IBU beer, so you will get some hops added in the beginning to add bitterness, but as you go through the wort boil, you have a trade-off between, you know, bitterness when you add the hops in favour of flavour and aroma. New England IPAs, of course, are a lot more reliant on later edition hops than West Coast beers, of course, which are a lot more bitter. But yeah, the green component of this one is quite nice, quite a pungent and slightly spicy floral aromaticity, and a good little bit of a kind of grassy, zesty sort of thing as well. So I really like how all of that, pieces together in this beer. So yeah, the fruity side of things as well complements that nicely, but there is a good little bit of a grassy, zesty sort of thing in there too. But yeah, the fruity esters then, for me this one's quite interesting and quite nicely balanced. So you can feel the Galaxy and the El Dorado giving you those big tropically notes. The Galaxy is the one that's giving you that big pungenty passion fruit, if you like, but then you can feel the El Dorado's giving you the more. The El Dorado will, of course, contribute to the passion fruit side of things a little bit, but I think the El Dorado is the one that's going to give you more of the kind of mango-y notes. So there's a lovely sort of more oily, mango-y quality to this one, and you can smell a lighter sort of pineapple in there too. But on the other hand, you get a lovely oiliness. You get that sort of white, green, grapey, gooseberry element from the Nelson Sauvin in this beer as well. So right on the tip of the nose you can smell the Nelson Sauvin just behind the grassy elements, and then a little bit further back you can kind of smell those more pungent tropical fruity aromas. But the tropical fruit becomes a little bit softer the more that you smell of it, so you definitely get a little bit more of a kind of how would you say, you definitely get a little bit more of a softer tropical side to this beer a bit later on, like more pineapple and a little bit of a softer mango as well. So yeah, lovely smelling beer, this one. I really like how the aroma goes together. So take a bit of time and ponder that over, but I think it's about time that we taste this one then. So this one is the Abstract IPA, a New England IPA coming in at 6.5% ABV from Hopalaa in, I forgot the name of it, let me go back up to the thing there. So in Jelgava in the Zemgale region to the southwest of Riga. Let me just line that up so that my OCD is happy and we can taste it now. So yeah, the Abstract IPA, let's get stuck into this one. Slanja, Skål and Prijeka, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Cheers. Prijeka, I think was the right intonation. But yeah, that comes across quite nicely actually. But yeah, it's a very solid New England IPA, absolutely. I mean, you know, the breweries to compare this one to in Sweden would be, you know, you've got the Fermentararnas, you've got the Stigbergets, the OOs, you've got Brewski as well. In Copenhagen, you've got like Gamma, Dry and Bitter, Slow Burn, these kind of guys. And you know, this beer wouldn't look out of place against those, definitely not. Certainly wouldn't look out of place against those ones, right enough. But yeah, that is really nice, and I'm just thinking, I'm wondering when this one was canned exactly, because it doesn't feel like madly fresh. One of the things you can always get with New England IPAs, if you drink them like straight off the bat, I always find with these beers that you get a hell of a lot of green out of them, and I've always felt that New England's needs just a little bit more time to kind of mellow out almost after you brew them, maybe like 2 weeks or something in the can. This one feels as if it's been in the can for a couple of weeks actually. It feels as if it's been in the can maybe 3-4 weeks or something like that, because you can just kind of tell from a little bit of the wheaty note that you get out of this one. So yeah, Pardon me, that's an interesting point to make about this. But yeah, it certainly comes across as a very, very solid New England IPA, this one. So yeah, thumbs up to them. It's not out of place against the likes of the Gammas and the, let's say, you know, the Gammas, the dry and bitters, slow burns, and you know, the ale farms and stuff like this from Denmark, and the Stigbergets OOs and stuff like that you're getting here. So yeah, definitely cool to see, to have a go at a Latvian IPA. So these guys, you know, Arpus get a lot of praise for their New England IPAs. It's been a while since I've had an Arpus, right enough, but you know, maybe they've got a little bit of a rival for the Latvian import business. Who knows? But yeah, it's solid, this one. At the same time, you know, it has quite a different mouthfeel to it in a sense. This one strikes me as being a little bit more sort of oily in a sense compared to other ones, and it's probably the caramel that's doing that, I would say. I'm curious to see if this carries on into the other beers that I've got from them too, and see what's that like. You start to notice with breweries, after you have quite a few of their beers, you can notice like trends and things with them. So I'm curious to see what Hopalaa's style is going to be like. But the first impression of this one is that it's a smooth but slightly oily New England IPA, and I like that. I like there to be a slight oiliness to the fruits, and I do like a little touch of brown sugar in these beers as well. And that one's given me both of those. So yeah, for me, this one kind of ticks the boxes, if you like. And you know, remember, beer is subjective. Different people like different things. But yeah, this is pretty good. As I say, it wouldn't look out of place against those Swedish breweries that I mentioned, and the Danish ones as well. Absolutely. So yeah, let's break down the flavour of this one then and see how we go. So straight away with this beer, you can feel a nice sort of smooth white bready note just blanket the middle of your palate. It does kind of thicken up a wee bit that as you go further into the aftertaste. So the breadiness kind of smooths out a little bit. You can feel a little bit of the wheat on the back half of that middle third of your palate pushing its way forward, but we'll come back to the wheat later. But yeah, the oaty notes in this one are sort of sitting on top of that soft white bready note there as well. But in the middle of that kind of middle third of your palate, if you like, you can feel a little bit of a layer. There is a wee bit of a kind of Werther's Original sort of butter candy type thing sitting on top of the oats. So you get a wee bit of that butter candy type brown sugary note, but in the very centre of your palate, you do get a wee bit of that kind of sweet caramel coming out of this one. Was it Maris Otto that was in this? No. It was Golden Promise. So yeah, Golden Promise is the one that I tend to find gives you that sort of Werther's Original type thing, but then it does have, as we say, a bit of straight up caramel malt in there. So yeah, very centre of your palate, a little bit of caramel, a little bit beyond that you've got some kind of you've got a little bit of kind of butter candy type thing, and then beyond that you've got some as I say, underneath that you've got the kind of more oaty smoothness out of the beer. So yeah, it's got everything you would want in a malt based side of things, and it's quite straight shooting in a sense as well. So yeah, interesting stuff, definitely. But on that back third of your palate then, on the border region between middle and back third of your palate, you can feel a little bit of a kind of doughy bready build up, a little bit of a bread crust, and then on the back third of your palate again, you've got a little bit of a sort of wheaty, bitey kind of thing in there as well. So you do get a bit more of the wheatiness on that back third of your palate. And like I said, you can feel the wheatiness kind of creeping forward on the beer a little bit. Sitting on top of that back third of your palate though, you get a little bit of a more kind of taller flavour, if you like. You can feel some of the yeasty notes coming out of the beer. So you've got a little bit more of that kind of airy yeasty flavour on the back third of your palate. If you start from the back, you can feel that the flavour sort of condenses down gradually, and then as you go into the middle third of your palate, it goes down quite a bit, and then you've got quite a kind of condensed layer of flavours there in that middle third of your palate. So yeah, that certainly works very, very well. So yeah, malty side of this beer is nicely done. Let's focus on the hoppy side of things then. So, hoppy side of things, it's pretty solid as well. Back corners of the palate, you do get a wee bit of earthiness out of this one, which is a bit of a surprise for these hops. But as you move further forward, it very quickly moves to be a kind of more floral and aromatic sort of thing. You can feel that it gradually builds up a little bit of spiciness as you move further and further forward onto the front corners of the palate. Round the front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter and more kind of grassy. There's a little bit of a kind of citrusy, zesty kind of thing pushing its way out of this too. But yeah, I like how all of that pieces together in this beer for sure. So yeah, pretty nice I have to say. So yeah, green component is, you know, pretty much what you'd expect and not overly surprising. As I say, as I drink more and more of this, I think the kind of floral notes push their way out a little bit more. The beer, you know, the beer does get a little bit more kind of, it does feel just a little bit more oily and smooth at the same time the more that you drink of it as well. So that's definitely worth noting with this one. But let's focus on that front third of your palate where you get the nice fruity, juicy kind of parts of the beer. So yeah, border region between front third and middle third, again, you do get a little bit more of a kind of bready build up and a bit of bread crust in there, which I can certainly appreciate. Then the base of that kind of front third of your palate, again, you get a sort of white bready note in there and a little bit of a kind of more grainy bread crusty element. But sitting on top of that, you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. So for me then, on the back of that front third of your palate, you've got a little bit of a stronger, kind of stronger passion fruity element there, and again that's going to come both from the Eldorado and from the Galaxy. But as you move further forward from that, you start to get a more kind of oily mango note out of it, and as you progress further into the aftertaste, you'll get a little bit of the pineapple. I think the pineapple is more likely to come from the Galaxy, whereas the mango is going to come a little bit more from the Eldorado, I would think. But yeah, the tropical side of this beer, it has a little bit of pungency, but it mellows out as you go further into the aftertaste. But on the front half of that front third of your palate, you definitely get the more kind of oily and sort of gooseberry, grapey elements out of the Nelson Sauvignon. So yeah, I like how that goes together. The Nelson Sauvignon, I think, lingers there into the aftertaste a bit more, and you do get a wee slight, almost limey thing just behind the kind of grassy, zesty esters on the front curve of your palate. But yeah, I think this beer goes together pretty well actually. It's a slightly more oily leaning New England IPA for me, and I think that's probably where it differs from the Scandinavian ones a little bit. It's definitely just got a little bit more oiliness to it. So curious to see if that translates into the other beers that we get from these guys too, or if it's just to do with the caramel or whatever that's in here. But yeah, overall it's a New England IPA. This one is pretty solid and not out of place against the likes of, you know, Stieg Biarritz and you know, Gamma and things like this, the quite prominent Scandinavian breweries. So yeah, interesting stuff for sure. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say this beer is pretty much mid-bodied, although it might be pushing towards the top end of mid-bodied. Yeah, might be pushing towards the kind of the top end of mid-bodied for sure. Carbonation is very smooth. It has got quite a bit of oiliness to it, this beer. In a sense, it's a little bit slick, but yeah. So yeah, quite an oily New England IPA, this one. The more that I drink of this as well, I actually get quite a bit of dustiness out of it from the dry hopping. So maybe it is a little bit fresher than I first initially thought, because, you know, usually that kind of dustiness that you get with these dry hop beers sort of mellows out a little bit. So maybe this beer is a wee bit fresher than I initially thought. But yeah, as we said, in terms of hoppy bitterness, this beer is 20 IBUs. It tells you that on the can. I saw that. So yeah, I maybe would have thought it was a wee bit more bitter than this because of the kind of dustiness from the dry hopping. But yeah, 20 IBUs. Malt base, like I said, is quite a smooth one. This, it does thicken up a little bit more the further you go into the aftertaste, and there's a wee bit of an oily brown sugary element to it as well. But you've got a nice little bit of juiciness in there, a little bit of an oily fruity character as well. But yeah, in terms of a New England IPA, I think this one is pretty damn solid. So yeah, I'm curious to see what the other ones from this brewery turn on like. I think we've got 2 IPAs. We've got a double IPA, we've got a triple IPA, and we have a sort of micro IPA, if you like a session IPA kind of thing. Then we've got a few sours and quite a few stouts and stuff like that. One of the sours, from what I understand, has pickle juice in it, so I think I'm not going to enjoy that one. So yeah, we'll see We'll see how that one goes. But yeah, we'll do the IPAs first, of course, because they're the time bomby ones. But yeah, this one was pretty damn solid, so I'm looking forward to the other ones that we've got from these guys. We've got 2 milkshake IPAs as well. I forgot about those, so you'll see those appearing at some stage too. But yeah, this one was the Abstract IPA, 6.5% New England Hazy IPA, whatever you want to call it, from Hopalaa in Jelgava to the southwest of Riga over in Latvia. Thanks again for watching. Check out my social media, check out my other reviews, and let me know some other Latvian breweries that I should be checking out. Check out these guys on social media. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Slàinte, skål, cheers, and prieka.